Forgetting Who I Was, Am, and Will Be by Dorian Grayson. Forgetting is not all-powerful. It is not the void of the real, the oblivion of experience, nor the entropy of humanity. Forgetting is the absence of memories that were once remembered or were expected to be remembered. That's all. Accounts of loved ones with extensive memory loss often include themes of losing that loved one through memory loss. Forgetting may change a person, but no person is ever the singular conception anyone else has of them. Not to mention, we all forget, every day. Most forgetting originates with common factors and manifests more forgivingly than wholesale forgetting. Typical presentations include increased time to recall known information, lessened ability to keep memories/knowledge on top of one's mind, and partial knowledge loss, such as remembering who a person is and how you know them, but not their name. This includes situations where one remembers the original experiences when prompted, which are rarely seriously discussed as memory loss. These modes of forgetting are common to everyone, whether from aging, sleep deprivation, distraction, stress, drugs, panic, or any number of things that might interrupt memory processes. Indeed, all of us forget constantly without a choice. I forget more than you, but the dynamics of forgetting are the same. And besides all of this, remembering is a form of forgetting by corrupting the original memory. From Sarah Zedig, a video about transitioning. The thing about memories is that you're rewriting them every time you remember them. You're playing them over, which essentially means that each time you're remembering something, it's like playing back a cassette tape. You're mutilating it. You're decaying it. Eventually, after enough plays, a VHS tape will be unrecognizable from its original version. It will be indistinguishable from noise. Zedig doesn't address the why of her memory problems, but I think the inclusion of them in this text about transitioning is integral to exploring it, especially from a trans perspective, which both Zedig and I have. Trans people are expected to always have known that they were deviant, which is one of the necessary parts of an acceptable trans narrative needed to get through the medicalized processes for verification, investigation, and perhaps, eventually, assistance. While I haven't had to prove myself to a psychiatrist yet, this standardization of a proper trans narrative means that a lot of the identity work in transition is reconfiguring the self into a comprehensible and acceptable form. This reconfiguration of self is necessarily a reconsideration of memories, which is a destructive process. Going over your life over and over for validation for a potentially acceptable form that your queerness could take or has taken is violent. Desperately shredding the tapes of the past, looking for material for the future. The strongest counterpoint to my attempted redemption of forgetting is personal. In 6th grade, I made a post on Google Buzz, Google's social media effort a few years before Google+, about wanting to die. And Celeste Marie Triptych replied with kind words. I've almost certainly saved the post somewhere, but have forgotten where. We started dating in 7th grade. I made Celeste a Valentine with some school dance photos cut up so we were on the curled hill from the Nightmare Before Christmas. Our first kiss was hidden between two walls in the blacktop. We were huddled in the corner together, attracting the interested looks of passers-by. With each of us pushing the other to take the initiative, we didn't end up kissing until the bell rung. I don't remember who actually ended up initiating. I don't remember any of that, actually. I know because Celeste told me. I don't remember any of our near 3-year relationship. We were unhealthily close and distant from everyone else. She has no one to remember that time with, no person to bear witness to who she was for years. On a long enough time scale, time removes us all from the records, both physical and mental, but it feels like a betrayal in the short term, especially when you're the one who's forgotten. From Sarah Zedig, a video about transitioning. I spend so much time going back through pictures, trying to find who you used to be, some proof that who you are now was always there. I look back at the child that I can barely remember, and I see smiles, and I see happiness, good times. I see a kid who looks physically fit, running around, playing with loving parents, doing kid things, never looking depressed, or overwhelmed, or cold, lonely. I see parents who are happy and loving and accepting. I see a dad who plays along, and I see a mom who embraces her child fully. And I see a happy childhood. I see a happy childhood. And I don't remember it. We know evidence can lie. We know media are stories, and that those stories are, more often than not, oversimplifications or outright mistruths. There is no version of the past that doesn't lie in some way. Digital records, including the pictures that compose video, are invaluable resources for recording what isn't remembered. But is it better to witness one's inability to recognize one's own past? I've forgotten the color of Celeste's eyes, her birthday, and any number of things I could find on her Facebook page. Would the recovery of that information soothe the loss of forgetting? I know she broke up with me by text at 10:07 p.m. From that point onwards, I converted to using a 24-hour time format, so I wouldn't be reminded every night at 22:07. It hasn't worked. That one bit of the past, one I'm trying to avoid keeping with me, is stuck like a popcorn kernel fragment with dreams of becoming a tooth. I lost texts recently. In the period of writing this, the screen on my phone of 6 years died. That phone being my gateway for extra parental being during the end of high school and the primary locus of extra physical contact through almost all of university, held more of myself than I do at any given time. It remembers more than I do. Despite many options and with a few left, the outlook is dim that I'll recapture the texts, small memo notes, and voice recordings. Texts from my last 2 partners, relationships I'm in the process of forgetting, gone with the failure of an object. The days afterwards have been slower than a cloud in a picture. I am less me, and I am settling into that. Pictures capture us at special times when we're happy and together and posed. Texts are every day or everything. They're the negotiation with Skylar over whether it's smart to date with only a year before graduation. They're the conversations beforehand where we both said, "No Romo," after being sweet to each other. And I genuinely believed he had no interest in me. They're the testimony on whether or not I told him when I was drinking, or if I even did any of my high school drinking while with him. They're the exploratory "I love yous," jubilant "I love yous," pleading "I love yous," and reassured "I love yous." They're the fights and the gaps due to the cold shoulder. They're a testament that I didn't say all that I hope I said. I might not have even known him that well. What use was this captured image of myself, its quality set yet decaying? Why would I want to dust the present to make it look like the past, or even reference the past? What use is it? Imagine how much farther the future could get without being chained to a ghost. Before the Italian Renaissance, citizens in city-states like Florence would not value buildings for historical reasons. If some old, unused building held materials that were useful for building one's home, they could be reappropriated. This practice and the resulting patchwork architecture are known as spolia, and disappeared when scholars started to value studying the architecture of the past. The material of these material objects was trapped as the past was enforced into the present, valued more for the glimpse into a lost past than the usefulness of a changed future. This repurposing is part of forgetting, to allow us to lose things slowly while also keeping the present manageable. It's a growing over of new skin. In just 27 days, every bit of our external layer of skin has flaked off and become dust. We don't feel the pain of losing skin constantly, of constantly becoming less us as we grow. But memory can impose that pain. How quickly can one's personality change? I remember that Skylar said he loved me because I was hopeful. All will be well, I told him time after time, knowing less about climate disaster than him, the environmental science nerd. I know now why he needed it, and can no longer muster the hope to agree with my past self. The original All Shall Be Well was written by Julian of Norwich, with the idea that an unseen, all-powerful source would make everything okay in the end. I am no longer so naive, and no longer truly hopeful. I am not the person who Skylar loved, nor can I access what that love looked like. I will forget that someday, and it will no longer hurt. From Sarah Zedig, a video about transitioning. Being a closeted trans person is like having an open wound. Coming out, becoming the person you want to be, it's like taking the knife out and looking at the wound and seeing what it is, because you can't fix it if you don't know it's there. You can't fix it if you pretend it doesn't exist. You gotta open it up a little wider. Pull out all the dead tissue, clean it out, sew it up, treat it well, move on with your life. The thing about all this is that eventually the knife digs deep enough that the knife scars the bone. Some of these wounds, they go away. Others are too deep. They're canyons, permanently etched into your body. And then what do you do? In amnesiac stories, there's almost always a moment where one character says to another, "I don't know you anymore." Unfortunately, it's usually said by the amnesiac's partner, who feels entitled to their now gone loved one. There's a boundary of acceptable change, losses that are unimportant, and behaviors that are out of line. We usually don't really know who we are to each other, what our loved ones believe our essential qualities to be. Is there any way to answer "why do you love me" that doesn't impose part of ourselves onto our loved ones? We live as much in others as we do ourselves, maybe more so in total, because individual bodies are but nodes on the network in which we all live, where we become ourselves in the gaps between ourselves. Tell me who I am to you, why you love me, and maybe I can become me again. There's a lot of autonomy in forgetting. By freeing ourselves of the obligations and pressures to maintain the past and the present, we reinvigorate the very means by which we have to shape the present. The less people are beholden to the portrait of themselves, the more they can grow past it. I'm not choosing to forget the sorrows, the losses. If that was a choice, I know how much it would soothe me to remember. But if there's something that'll be shared between every Dorian, it'll be the angst of loss. Even a good moment hurts because I know I'll forget it, but it can also know that good things have hurt before, and they will hurt again. I know I will forget this moment. I know one day these words might as well be fiction. It's hard to lose each moment, but knowing that there has been, is, and will be loved ones to listen and care and help means that there will always be enough present to make up for the past. At Mags Vizags, screen name Alice in Wonderland, gay flag emoji, posted 6th of February 2020 at 13:30. I created myself 4 years ago, and I created myself this morning, and I create myself second by second as time spirals behind me on an infinite swirl that from above must look like a tangle of atoms moving through time. Nothing is finite. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is real. At Magsfazags, screen name Alice in Wonderland, gay flag emoji, posted 6th of February 2020, 13:33. Something happened to me 25 years ago that I do not remember, that still scars me. I don't know what it was. Nobody does.